With a quorum present, I call this Conservation Commission meeting to order. Okay, first item, agenda item A, request to extend an order of conditions, 1023 and 1029 East Street, DEP file 305-1132. Anybody here for that? Okay, Joe, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hold on one sec. No one is present for it, but I can elaborate. Basically, this is a request to extend an existing order of conditions. The order was issued June 10th, 2021, and expires June 10th, 2024. The applicant is requesting a one-year extension to just finish up the site. And that's all the information that I have.
Anybody have any questions?
No questions.
Is this for the storage facility, proposed storage facility down at the railroad tracks, or where is
It's
it?
American Gutter.
Oh, okay, yep.
Was this the one where they're just doing the inside? They just have to finish work on the inside, or is that another one?
I'm not exactly sure what work is remaining. I have been out to the site for a separate occurrence, but I know that the parking area is mostly complete. The building is up. Some of the stormwater structures, if not all of them, are in place. So it may just be, getting the minor details, but I'm not exactly sure.
Folks, any issues with this?
No, I have no questions.
All right, can I have a vote to extend the order of conditions on 1023 and 1029 East Street, DEP file number 305-1132 for 1 year?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, and Chairman says aye as well. So there's 3. And by the way, all votes have to be unanimous tonight, folks.
I think say all those in favor. Say
Oh, all
aye.
those in favor, say aye.
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 And the chairman votes aye as well. Easy.
There you go. We're doing great.
Okay, got that going. Folks, first time doing it, so,
You're doing great.
okay, agenda item B. Request to extend order of conditions for 935 Main Street, DEP file number 305-1126. Anybody here for that? Please come down and introduce yourself for the record.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Fabio Mazzocco. I'm a project manager for MDR, general contractor that is working on the site. We're basically at the end. We have done all the exterior work, all the site work. We just have to get the paperwork. We just want to make sure we don't go over the expiration date. So just wanted to extend it before it's too late.
Okay. Joe, any comments, or?
Yep, so this is 935 Main Street, and it's basically just, a few hundred feet that way. So this was an order of, this pertains to an order of conditions issued on May 11th, 2021. It expires May 11th, 2024. So they're just requesting a one-year extension. That's it.
Any questions or concerns from the board?
No questions?
Okay. Oh, did I have to open a public meeting for any of this?
Nope. Not for
Okay,
extensions.
good. Okay, so can I have a motion for a request to extend order of conditions on 935 Main Street, DEP file number 305-1126, as requested for 1 year?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Now, I have to ask for a vote.
So all those in favor say aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye as well. You're all set.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay.
That's what Dan says anyway, so just going off that.
Well, we're giving it a whirl. I mean,
Works.
it's the intent. Okay, agenda item C, request for determination of applicability, Arthur Makos multiple roadways. Anybody here for that? Yes. Come on down.
It's like Price is Right now.
Bring cash.
All right, so my name's Arthur Marcos. I work for the Department of Public Works Engineering Division. I oversee the paving, the road resurfacing or paving that is town-wide on a yearly, annual basis. So we are proposing to pave, I gave the list there of all the roads, and as we're doing them, we'll encounter abutting wetlands, and we'll be using our silt fences and silt sacks in our catch basins. We use as a standard procedure anyways. As we do pave and depending on the process, whether we reclaim might cause more silt to be produced, but generally when we're just milling a road, there's not much that can go into wetlands, but because they pretty much sweep immediately right after. So we are using our best management practices while we're paving.
Joe, any comments?
So my comments are similar, RDA application was submitted last year, so similar process. The reason for the filing is that, some of these areas of repaving and reclaim are occurring within a jurisdictional area. So if the commission were to issue a negative determination of applicability, as was done last year, the commission could consider the following conditions as applied to the previous determination. Number one is install and maintain sediment controls, which shall include of a properly entrenched silt fence and/or stake straw wattles around the area of construction as to prevent the deposition of sediment from all construction activities into nearby wetland resource areas. Sediment control shall remain in place until all areas of disturbed/loose soil and other erodible materials have been stabilized at the site. The second condition is catch basins within Conservation Commission jurisdictional areas are to be fitted with silt sacks. And number three is that sediment controls, including silt sacks, are to be installed prior to beginning any construction related to the project within a Conservation Commission jurisdictional area. That is all.
Any questions, concerns from the commission?
I just have a question only because I don't know what this means. When you have the roadway list and it says water trench only, what does that mean?
Yeah, so we pave, generally when we pave an entire road, that means full width. This year, or the past couple of years, we've been doing a lot of water work in town, meaning they're replacing the water main, and then when they replace the water main, there's a trench that's left.
Okay,
So a trench is supposed to, the trench that the contractor puts when he does the water is supposed to only last 1 year, one freeze-thaw cycle. And then it's supposed to be come in and then replaced with the permanent trench. So as part of our paving program, we kind of clumped it in with our roads to actually have them put the permanent trench on these trenches.
okay. Oh, thanks. I just didn't know what that meant.
No, and it's not something we usually do, but we've done, on a lot of these roads that we are paving, had water replacement jobs done on them. So we almost trying to, follow them. So because those roads, after all that work is done on them, they're not in great shape.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
So this one's a public hearing, if you want to.
Okay, so I'm going to open up this is a public hearing. Anybody have any comments or concerns? Please feel free to. I don't see anyone. Okay, so do I close the public hearing now?
Yep. Motion to close.
Motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, so
All those in favor?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye as well. Okay. So can I have a motion to
Issuing
issuing a negative determination of applicability for Arthur Marcos on behalf of the town of Tewksbury for multiple roadways.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye as well. Thank you, sir.
All right, sir, thank you.
Let me get this down, you know.
Doing great.
Okay. Okay, agenda item D, request for determination of applicability. I'm not even going to attempt that name. 14 Maplewood Road. Is anyone here for that? Please come down and introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening. My name is Yue Long Tang, live at 14 Maplewood Road, Tewksbury. Do I need to, tell what's the story about my application?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, in my backyard, there's some trees. 3 trees are very tall. Also, close to my house is kind of dangerous. Actually, I thought, someday probably I will cut those trees to make my house safe. But, but I haven't decided yet. Until recently, my neighbors, they, cut trees. Then they, came to my house. Told me, maybe I can get a good deal if I, cut trees with them, at the same time. So at that time, I, decided to cut trees. But I really don't know, have no idea, about the regulation or the, this kind of, requirement. So I have no idea. So until Joe made me, say, okay, that is near the wetland. I need to apply the permit before, cut it. Yeah, just.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, you have any comments here?
Yeah, so I can elaborate on that situation more. So I was told there was some tree cutting activity on Maplewood Road. So then I did a site visit. It was a kind of collective neighborhood effort to kind of cut trees and kind of save a few bucks. So I ended up talking to, or at least going through multiple different properties and talking with the resident 14 Maplewood Road before us and another resident who will be in front of the commission probably at the next meeting. But the short of it is, yes, there was some tree cutting that had already occurred on 14 Maplewood Road. The photos that were provided kind of show what trees were cut. I'll note that the furthest or the closest tree that I saw that was cut on 14 Maplewood Road is probably anywhere between 80 and 100 feet away from the wetland. That wetland is actually vernal pool. It's a certified vernal pool, so it actually has a 200-foot radius of a buffer zone under our jurisdiction. So nonetheless, there was unpermitted tree cutting activity. So, I had instructed the applicant before us to still file the RDA as would be required for anyone else looking to cut trees in a jurisdictional area. So here we are. And I didn't notice any, it seemed like all the tree debris was taken off site. There wasn't any, adverse impact to the wetland itself.
Do you know who the company was that did the tree
I
cutting?
do, I just, it's not off the top of my head.
Because that happened in our neighborhood too. I understand how it happens. They come through and they just ask everyone, they say, we're here, our equipment's here, we'll give you a good price.
Right.
And you don't really have time
Also,
to
I
think
kind
about
of
it.
push, keep pushing me to cut it. So I really,
Yeah, no, I understand.
some tree actually is, for me, is actually is optional. Actually, they try to cut more than get a good price,
Yeah, no, it's, same thing happened in our neighborhood too.
Also, my neighbors, they lived much longer than I lived this address. So if any, I thought, if some regulation, they should know instead I just lived this property
Yeah.
a couple of years, a few years.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking maybe we should talk to the tree company and just say, hey, make sure. that-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so they were out there when I was,
Oh,
like, they
okay.
were about to cut down more trees.
Okay.
So, yeah, I had an extensive conversation with them and, they didn't know, or that's what they say anyway, but.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody here for anything to do with this? I don't see anyone. Oh, yes, I do. Please step up to the microphone over there and identify yourself, please, for the record.
This microphone right here.
Over there. Oh, the podium.
Makes me feel special.
Yep.
Pastorello, 60 Shiver Circle. I'm the abutter that has been mentioned earlier as having the property with wetlands, an intermittent stream, and a vernal pool that, as Mr. Fontaine mentioned, is registered and certified in the state of Massachusetts. I'm here because I'm disappointed with what happens here in town. There's been a lack of control over protecting wetlands for the last number of years. We went through this specifically a while back with this commission. Not this, obviously the folks here, but still the commission, Conservation Commission, where the neighbor next to 14 Maplewood clear cut an acre of land abutting all this, and the Conservation Commission really did nothing to support that and protect it. In the end, it cost us personally thousands of dollars of our money to try to protect this wetland when the Conservation Commission, that's their charter. Here we are again, where people are just cutting down trees, and this is supposed to be a protected area. I recognize that, when there's, property and personal safety involved, I think there's a lot of latitude there. I think that, there's a propensity for people just cutting down trees willy-nilly. I do applaud that, there could be better communication with some of these forestry services and come in and clear cut and do whatever they're doing on behalf, because they should know better. I think the property owner at 14 Maplewood probably should, have done a better job of researching the property they bought when they bought it, or their legal counsel or whatever to do that, because that's exactly how we were informed of this 38 years ago when we bought the property in 1985, that we couldn't do it. We had to be very careful with doing anything back there. And so we've done a lot to protect that, or try to protect that area. I recognize that when you take out 70, 80-foot trees that are 100-odd years old, you can't replace those. They're irreparable. This damage is irreparable. What was done at 14 can't be changed. The damage that was done at 16 Maplewood, 15, whatever it was, 20 years ago, also can't be changed. We have a lot of trees that are back there dying now, and because they're wetland-type trees, they don't have the protection of the trees that used to be in front of them, blocking the wind, the sun. It's disappointing. There was no effort to check with people around the area, just neighborly, whatever, talk to people and say, just informally, let alone come before this commission and say, hey, I'd like to take down some trees. No, request for determinations, no notice of intent. I know that we paid thousands of dollars to have the wetlands actually surveyed and mapped to prove that it was that, and to prove that it was in fact a wetlands and that it was in fact a vernal pool. That weighs heavily on me, that the burden is on me when the town has a commission that's supposed to protect these areas. It's all documented on all the government websites in terms of the pools, vernal pool, all of this. I don't know what can be done in any way to remediate this. 100-year-old trees that are 70, 80, 100 feet tall. I don't know how you, continue to do this, protect the wetlands. I do say thank you to Mr. Fontaine from what he said earlier. I'm taking you on your word that when you were out there, you had the opportunity to stop additional trees from being taken down. I do appreciate that. I mean, this vernal pool and this wetland area really was the reason why we did buy this property, coming from a denser suburb. We wanted to move out somewhere we had a little more land, a little more protection, a little more space. And we were told that, that this would be afforded to us because it's all protected land. At the time, we were told that it was conservation land. An earlier conservation agent in town was not supportive of that. He called me a liar because you can't have conservation land because that's only by government and town property. Towns can own that. So he was willing to whip me around about that. So this is all still raw when this comes up now, obviously, right? So I don't know. What can be done? Can anything be done?
I'll say that the state and the local regulations are to protect the wetland resource areas themselves. And the buffers that extend off of the wetlands they're buffers because the regulations want to protect construction activities that happen near wetlands so that they don't have adverse impacts on the wetlands themselves.
Sure.
So the 100-foot buffer isn't a resource area in the sense that you can't do anything within the 100-foot buffer, because there's projects that come in here all the time and they go right up to the 50-foot mark of the 50-foot buffer, the 25-foot mark. So it really wasn't until 20-ish years ago where municipalities wanted to protect the buffer zone of wetlands. And that's why a lot of municipalities, including Tewksbury, have a 25-foot, no disturb zone, where at least you can protect part of the buffer zone. But inherently, and sometimes unfortunately, the buffer zone itself isn't afforded the same performance standards as a wetland, where you're heavily discouraged of altering a wetland itself. Whereas the buffer, you can do work in the buffer zone. It just needs appropriate permitting and appropriate controls. So what can be done is voting at town meeting to extend that no disturb zone maybe from 25 to 50 feet. So that additional 50-foot buffers are a no disturb zone, where by law, by regulation, you can't alter that. But as of now, the 100-foot buffer exists just so that the commission could get a chance to review whatever construction is being proposed. Does that make sense a little bit? Is that just?
Yeah, it's certainly parts of it, right? Things do happen, with appropriate controls, and I'm okay with that. As I said, if there was, a safety issue or a property issue, damage to property, again, I'd probably be okay with it. But again, like I said, this is raw because this commission doesn't get informed. People just do what they want, and this commission has no teeth to do anything to protect it or to remediate. So it's really difficult, from my perspective, right? I understand the delineations for some of those areas, and we're not just talking about wetlands, we're talking about vernal pools, right, which have an extended buffer zone, so it's not really 100 feet, right? It's within 250 or something like that, there's jurisdiction. So, yeah, it just continues. It's just continuing all the time, right? To the point where it's like, what's the point, right?
Well, thank you for your input. You can't govern, you can't make everybody in town watch everyone's tree cutting either.
Nope, I know, but the Conservation Commission does have enforcement rules, right, control.
Yes, we do.
Right, so, one thing you could do as part of this, and this is an ask from me, is go back and look at because there is no jurisdiction, there's the statute of limitations on wetlands. I would ask that the town go back and take a look at what's happened in those properties abutting the wetlands, right? And, take a judgment on that rather than just saying, hey, there's nothing we can do. Take a look at it, because you can go back and look at some of the geologic surveys, and you can see through Google Maps and other things, what it looked like, and some of the, the trees have been really just pulled out of there. It's just ridiculous, so having a wetlands, right, as a protected area really doesn't mean anything if you can take all the trees down that you want, because that is the protection that those trees do afford those areas, right? Whether it's wind, whether it's sunlight, whether it's airflow, right? And it's just irreparably changed at this point. And like I say, this happened a number of years ago, and here it is starting again. So it's still raw, and it's unfortunate.
Understood.
But I do appreciate that you stopped additional trees from being cut down. I do appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions for me?
Thank you for your input. We
you.
appreciate it.
All right. Any comments from the commission here? Suggestions?
Is there any signage, like with the vernal pools?
So that was certainly one of the charges that I had to endure, is to put up signs
Okay.
around the area. Because what we did is, we had to redo a grass area. And because this was all coming up at the same time and we were still fighting to protect the wetlands, we had to go through all the requests for terminations. They mandated you have to have all these signs. We had to go out and buy signs, so we still have signs around. There's nothing there specifically that says vernal pool or puts the number 4686 or whatever on it. But we still do have those signs up. Just a sore reminder, I think, more than anything.
I was in Beverly, at Beverly Commons, and they had some really nice signs up for vernal pools, just to let people know that, not to touch it.
Yep, I mean, and that's, you're right. I mean, and that's the intent, to enjoy them, let them do their thing to the environment and protect the environment, and that's,
All right. How many trees were taken down?
I'd have to go back to the photos, but I noticed like 3 primary bigger ones,
Okay.
at least within 200 feet. But that's my foot for size reference.
Well, what are our options here? Oh, this is should we close the public meeting?
If no one else would like to.
Is anyone else here to speak on this effect? Okay, so a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Joe, any recommendations?
I mean, so this is kind of a after the fact type of permit. So I don't have any recommended conditions or anything. It's just to have the applicant go through the same process that any other individual requesting tree removal would do.
All right. So if we issue a negative determination of applicability, it's already done.
Right.
So we really don't have a choice here. In my limited experience.
Yeah.
Dennis?
I mean,
Linda? Any? I don't,
in other instances, I don't think the commission has raised issues with, I mean, these are trees that are The closest one, like I said, was 80 to 100 feet away. Others are, like that tree right there, for example, is probably 150 feet away.
Well, it's after the fact, but the application was done per your request.
Yep.
So, I'm look for a motion for a negative determination of applicability for, excuse my thing, the homeowner of 14 Maplewood Road.
I'll make that motion.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sorry.
Sir, we've closed the public meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye as well.
Can I ask a question now? About this? It's a quick question, right? It's a process question, if I may.
I'm not the strongest on process.
So let me just ask this. So the question before you was a request for determination, I believe, right? And you voted a negative request for determination. So in other words, it's not determined to be negative to the area. Does that mean that other trees can be cut down because you've now made a determination that it's a negative determination?
No.
No. It was,
Case by
Or is
case.
this a single instance?
this is a single instance, and this is after the fact, which really ties our hands. And if you stay tuned to what's been going on, we're dealing with almost an identical issue to this. Joe, help me on the address on North Street,
Yeah.
where there was unpermitted removal of trees. So, and we are pursuing that. And that, I think, will be a part of our discussion a little bit later.
Okay, so it's a single
Case by
instance, so
case.
it's not a carte blanche, you can do what you
Absolutely
want
not.
because it's been a negative determination.
And the more we communicate with these tree services, the better we'll get.
Great. Thank you for letting me ask my question. I appreciate your
Absolutely.
time. Thank you.
Thank you for your interest. Okay, so
Bunch of continuances coming up.
do I need to say them?
Yes.
Okay, continue to 4/17/2024, public hearing, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Norse Environmental Services, Inc., on behalf of Yvonne Comier, Construction Corporation, 1596 Andover Street, DEP file 305-1194.
So you say, can I have a motion to that effect? Because it's a motion to continue.
Okay, can I have a motion to make that continued?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor of,
Aye.
please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, chairman votes aye as well. Okay, item agenda F, continue to 4/17. It's a public hearing, notice of intent. I'm not good with this name. Nahata Dr. Nishish of Tewksbury Dental Associates, 1438 Main Street, DEP file 305-1187. Can I have a motion to continue that?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I think you need to vote on that. too.
Oh, yeah, me too, yep. Aye. So now I need to someone needs to make a motion to continue that,
I'll make that motion.
Second.
okay? And, wait a second.
Vote.
Vote, yes, aye. All right? Are we good on that one?
For F, yes.
Okay. See, I told you were going to talk a lot.
Yeah.
All right, agenda item G, continued to 4/17/2024, meeting, public hearing, notice of intent, Civil Design Consultants, Inc., on behalf of LNG Main Street LLC, 1167, 1177, and 1187 Main Street, DEP file 305-1192. Can I have a motion continue that?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay,
Vote.
aye. So what do I do now?
So it's just all those in favor say
All those
aye.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye as well. Okay. Emergency certification, Merrimack Meadows Lane.
Yeah, so this is, So this is an emergency certification for Merrimack Meadows Lane. Basically, I was called out to evaluate some trees in the area that are close to some of the units in Merrimack Meadows. So again, like I do all the time, is whenever I get called out to these areas, I evaluate the trees, if they're dead, dying, decaying, and if they pose a potential threat to human health and safety. So evaluating the crown, stem, and root of those trees. So basically, I allowed them to remove, 3 trees that looked dangerous. So for the conditions of the emergency certification, I would just defer to the document itself. So this would be a motion to ratify the emergency certification.
Can I have a motion to ratify the emergency certification for Merrimack Meadows Lane?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye as well. Okay, emergency certification, 8 Maplewood Road. I swear I've seen that address before. Joe, the floor is yours.
Yes, so similar situation, so kind of related to other things we've talked about. Some trees that were in a jurisdictional area, but were dead, dying, decaying, and pose a threat to human health and safety. Those, I recall that amounted to the removal of 3 trees in the front yard of 8 Maplewood Road. So I allowed those trees to be removed, but held off on some others. So again, I would just defer to the conditions in the emergency certification.
Okay, can I have a motion to ratify the emergency certification for 8 Maplewood Road?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye as well. Okay. Agenda item J, minor modification 1660 Shawshene Ave, DEP file 305-1110.
Yeah, so I can speak on this. Basically, I was in coordination with our building commissioner and fire prevention officer. Basically, there was an installation of a underground propane tank for 60 Shawshene Ave. So the development of this entire property was already issued an order of conditions, or an order of conditions was already issued for this property. It didn't account for the heating source. So I just asked them to provide a sketch of where that tank is located, which they have. I didn't think it went, that activity itself doesn't deviate too much from what was already permitted, so I just figured I would present this site plan to you guys, just in case you guys had any comments, but otherwise I didn't think it was like I said, I didn't think it,
Within the boundaries of.
yeah, it's within
Okay.
the limit of work, so.
Any
So did
comments? sir?
they just forget it, or did they add this on later, decide to add this on later? Or?
Yeah, I was looking at the plan, I noticed, they obviously have an electric line going through, so maybe they thought everything would be just an electric heat, and maybe they just changed their minds, but, yeah. So, that's it. There's no motion, I suppose, it's just as long as you guys have no comments, then I'm just assuming that it's,
Within the scope of work and, all right. Informative. We'll put that as informative. Okay, agenda item K, the tree cutting discussion.
yeah, so, yeah, you guys can come up. But we just had some residents, so this is for 30, 40, and 50 Germano Drive.
Yep.
So,
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening. For the record, Demetrius Kafkas, attorney by profession. The owners of the property are George and Christina Kafkas, my parents in their 80s, and this is my son that also lives at 30 Germano Drive, Alex Kafkas.
Okay.
so, do you want to kind of elaborate on, like, the restoration plan?
Sure. We've been in contact with Mr. Fontaine. He a few months ago, actually, was the initial communication, and it was positive. And when my parents received subsequent correspondence, my mother's fourth stage cancer, fourth year, so I was told about the letter and I communicated with him. His recommendation was for 2 replacement trees back there. That is I think, your minor problem with relation to the other properties. The trees that were damaged or removed were less than 6 inches width. And he recommended 2 trees, 6-footers. I proposed that we would actually be willing to put 4 trees that height, and at the same time, an additional 6 small babies at about 1 foot, and put it in that area. The confusion that transpired with that area, just to put things in perspective, because I know people are always on both sides of the spectrum, always want to be on a positive, is that my parents moved there back in 1997. So when the property was purchased, the understanding was that there was a road back there. That road actually, that goes around the perimeter of Germano Drive, on paper only, has trees in it. So there was no thought that something was going on. There was extensive poison ivy through there, through the years in there, and that was part of the concern of trying to clean up the area because of the children that would come on family functions and what have you. So that in a nutshell is we're willing to do that prior, obviously, to November, as soon as the weather clears up. Already the property has, in the last year, about 30 trees planted, 30 to 35 trees on the property of my parents, separate from other trees that were planted through the years. Obviously, there was some older, bigger trees on the property, not on the town property, that were removed. But that has to do with more concerns of dead limbs up there, and, when you have toddlers around, it's a safety concern, and that is the extent of it.
So I can provide some commentary here. So basically, the commission, we had issued a letter to 30, 40, and 50 Germano Drive saying, hey, we're just trying to be reasonable for the tree cutting that was done on town-owned property. In this case, there was only really 2 trees that were noticed to be cut within the town-owned property. So we're kind of just looking for a tree-for-tree replacement. And like the letter, so we had sent out a letter kind of saying, by May 2nd, please do the following. That basically consisted of proposing a restoration plan, which called out a few things, one of which is like an actual plan or sketch that shows, the spatial locations of where these trees are going to be planted. It required the trees to be planted to be at least 4 feet tall. And it requested like a schedule of when the trees would be planted, and at a minimum for them to be implemented by November of 2024. So,
And the only other issue, in my letter to you, we addressed all those issues but one, which was what type of tree to put back there.
yeah,
And I think from what my son says, that was a pine tree. But it doesn't matter. We'll, whether it's going to be oak or something, we'll work with you to
okay.
put a proper tree there.
Yeah, so basically you had sent over 2 emails, one of which was kind of like a picture of the restoration plan. Steve, were you able to see that?
No, I didn't.
Here, I'll just show you real quick. So this is one of the emails. So this is, remember, we're talking about 2 trees. I don't know how detailed it should be, but this is just a picture of the image that I sent, and that, proposed plan, the orange dots are gonna be 4 feet tall, the black dots are gonna be 2 feet tall in this, so. And then there's a separate email kind of detailing. So, tree restoration will be done by November 30th. And they provided the species on this separate email here. So the only missing thing, like you noted, was that the species wasn't provided for the larger trees, which is like what we're looking for. So I don't know if,
I mean, any recommendations? I mean,
Well, Joe recommended what species.
yeah, so if white pine's fine, oak trees are fine, black cherry, maples, that's just like what's native to that forest area. So I just didn't know if this is something the commission wants to agree upon, what was provided so far.
I think it looks reasonable.
That's fine.
So the only piece that wasn't provided is exactly what those big trees are going to be?
Yeah, so,
And I would leave it to Mr. Fontaine to work it out with
Joe, we'll
us.
leave it at your discretion. I mean,
okay.
what's available and,
Okay, so following this conversation, just so we can get this matter wrapped up, at least from 30 Germano's perspective, is a summary email about, what's been discussed, because the only missing part that's not on paper right now is the species of that tree. So if
And
you're.
we're going on public record right now, and I'll be happy to send you a follow-up email. to
Yeah,
that effect.
yeah, so, that's it. So part of that, the letter that we sent is that a restoration plan to be approved by the commission. So I'm not, if that's something that should be done now, that's up to the commission.
I would ask that it be done now, because I'm here on behalf of my parents,
any
and
questions or comments from you guys?
Whatever Joe,
I think the restoration plan is robust.
Yeah.
so just to be clear, for the restoration plan there was a request from the commission for 2 trees. We're going to put 4 trees that are anywhere from 4 to 6 feet tall, and there's going to be an additional 6 small ones.
Those are
placed.
spruce. I've already
Spruce.
planted them. I'm
Correct,
gonna back
that's
them
why I
up a
said the
little.
plan was robust. It
Yes.
was,
That way it'll,
yep.
So you'll let Joe know what those 4 tall trees are going to be, what species those are going to be?
absolutely.
In a follow-up email.
We can even do one of each of the 4 that he suggested. I mean, it's not, it's,
Okay,
As long as it's done, that's really,
that's our goal.
as long as it's done.
Okay.
But, okay, so as long as, if there's a motion maybe to,
The motion to accept this restoration plan
as discussed.
as discussed.
Yep, I'll make that motion.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye as well. Thank you, sir, for your
thank you,
time.
and have a good night.
Thank you, folks.
So
Okay,
just staying on this agenda item, I have received feedback from 40 and 50 Germano Drive. 50 Germano Drive has provided a partial restoration plan, but it seems like they're going to attend the next meeting.
Okay.
40, I still have to,
so 30 is
Hasn't-
wrapped up and
50 is on the way, and 40 is
In limbo.
hopefully, yeah.
in limbo. Got it. Okay,
Good
so.
job, Joe, getting what you've gotten from
Yeah.
people. I know
Job
it
to
hasn't
you
been
guys.
easy.
Okay, so next, old business, new business, or no business?
So yeah, old business, I suppose, is, so following up with the last meeting, I did a site visit out to 300 Ames Pond, as I said during the last meeting. Basically, the sediment controls, the perimeter sediment controls are all intact. It looks like there's been an effort to maintain those over time. I did note maybe some areas of encroachment into the 25-foot no disturb zone, but it's hard to tell in the field because, some of the wetland flags have fallen off. So I informed the developer who I walked the site with that it's going to take, when the as-built is presented to us to get the certificate of compliance, those areas of encroachment are going to have to be restored back to original condition. And the as-built will reveal that. As far as an update for that, as far as time frame, he said probably June of 2024 for the actual planting, and the planting of the tree buffer will occur before the mass looming of that area.
So for next steps, can we check back in with the developer like in May and make sure this is on track to get these trees planted?
Yeah, it's in the order to like have a follow-up every 3 months, so I'm not sure if I can probably do end of May maybe? or
Yeah, I
beginning
just
of
don't want to let it go and miss another year of growing season.
I agree.
May. Okay.
Okay, if there's no other business,
So in May, would that be another site walk too?
Yeah, so every 3 months I would do a site walk, or, I mean, every 3 months there's supposed to be a report sent to the commission saying, like, an update on sediment controls and all that. So for bigger projects, yeah, it makes sense for me to do like a site visit. So yeah, 3 months from now.
Thank you.
I'll note that, I think, minutes were on the agenda, but we didn't have any minutes for this, so
Okay.
just for the record, there's no approval of minutes.
there's no approval of minutes. So if there's no other
Table
business,
anything?
see administrator's report, I don't know what that is, so, and, the next word's my favorite. Could I make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye as well. Thank you, folks.